any questions or comments? I think I saw your hand first.
Yeah, Marshall, I read the MMWR report, and if I'm not mistaken, talked about some study data on 4-year-olds that you plan to do to break out the 4-year-olds. Can you talk about that, because I think that would be interesting.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Beginning with and I mentioned it in the presentation, beginning in the 2010 surveillance year, we began collecting data on 4-year-old children from a variety of data sources. Obviously, a smaller proportion of these children are going to be in the special education environment, although some of them will be receiving special education by age 4. When we do our study, we have to wait until the year is over, so we didn't begin collecting data for the 2010 surveillance year until 2011, and then we go back to the records of those children and all the records through 2010. So we expect to be finished with data collection sometime by the end of this year or early part of next year, and then obviously it'll take some time to compile the data, do a lot of the data cleaning, get a report compiled, and present those results. So we look forward to, for the first time, providing prevalence estimates on 4-year-olds in multiple Atom network sites. For those of you who are familiar with the project in 1996 in metropolitan Atlanta, we actually did the prevalence estimates for autism for 3 to 10-year-olds, and it was at that point that we decided that 8-year-olds would be the optimal age group to look at, because by that time most of the children would have been in services and identified.
So I'll just add a little bit to build on what John said. So we think it's important to look at 4-year-olds because, you know, the question of early identification, so that will help answer many of the questions that many of you have had. Why we looking at 8-year-olds, as John said, because that's the peak prevalence. We can track that over time, but if we look at 4-year-olds, we have more, not quite real time, but closer to real-time information on when these children are being identified, when they're getting into services, and we can also look at the trajectory from 4 years old to 8 years old to see exactly what happens over time. It's also a population, as I talked about C, where if we think about risk factors, that is closer to the time that we think some of these risk factors will occur. So we've thought about this for quite some time, and we're really excited about being able to present some data on 4-year-olds. I think, Peter, sure. You want to ask a question?
My sense it'll go on to something else.
Yeah, right.
Just a real quick question on that. With 4-year-olds, you're not, I assume, not going to be able to have educational records?
Well, it's interesting. These children may be in early intervention programs, and I'm an early intervention provider myself.
Right.
And if it's under the Department of Education, it sort of falls under that.
So you're still going to look at both?
Yeah, and they could be in preschool special ed, right, at 4, but they would be just beginning the preschool special ed program.
Okay.
So to the extent that we can, we will.
Okay.
Okay, I forgot your name.
I'm Dawn.
Dawn, hi.
Hi. I'm a mother of 1 in 88. So I'm really curious, does the CDC characterize autism as an epidemic, given that it has doubled between 1998 and 2000 birth cohorts? And also, what is the CDC doing to announce that autism has become a national health emergency and should receive the funds reserved for diseases of this magnitude?
Okay, 3 questions. Okay, John, do you want to address the question of the epidemic?
Sure, and this question comes up quite a bit, but you know, there's still so many questions remaining about how much of this is improved awareness, improved identification, expansion of services, and just changes in how communities are addressing autism, and how much, if any, is due to real increases in some type of risk factors. And we really don't know enough about the risk factors to be able to answer that question fully. And so it's really difficult to think about autism in the way that we consider other conditions that CDC monitors. And so it's because of the identification, because these other factors, it's really difficult to make a statement about whether or not this is an epidemic. People have talked about the rate of increase as being something that's alarming, or just the sheer magnitude, 1 in 88. We see other conditions that have prevalence just as high: intellectual disability, ADHD, language delays, and people aren't talking about an epidemic in terms of those conditions. But I think that the thing that concerns people the most is that they've seen this increase over time, and it's faster than what maybe people would have predicted. However, I go back to, because we don't know how much of it has to do with increased awareness and how much may have to do with any types of risk factors that we have yet to identify, it's really difficult to say that. One thing we do know, more children than ever before are being diagnosed in these communities, and there are people that need help. And so CDC is doing its part to understand the magnitude of the problem and understand what some of the risk factors might be.
Okay, and you had another part, and I know other people have questions, but your second question had related to what, the national response or something? Is that it?
Is the CDC, what is the CDC doing to announce that autism has become a national health emergency and should receive funds such as other diseases in that category with that magnitude?
Well, it's very difficult for us to answer this because obviously we can't talk about funding issues. So we're doing everything we can with the appropriations, and we thank Congress for the appropriations that we're getting, and we're trying to maximize those and do as much as we possibly can. And I think that's all that I can say about funding for autism activities and the need for more funding. I'm sorry, yes, do you have a comment about that?
I'll say something about funding. I'm a military parent. My name is Jeremy. I mean, being honest with you, this is like peeing into a hurricane as far as I'm concerned, as far as the amount of funding goes. And, we face this on the basis all the time, and it seems to us very troubling. So I'll let the audience hear that, and that's my point of view.
Yes, sir, thank you for your comment. Does anyone else have a comment about that before we, and I think there was a third part I forgot. Not fair, we got 3 questions again.
Well, I'm
What was
just
the third
curious, when are you going to start tracking some of those concerns then? Is that part of SEED or?
Well, I mentioned SEED. We're obviously really interested in what the risk factors are.
Yeah.
And that's SEED. That's our effort to try to answer that question. And I went through what we're looking at. And we do have our first paper that describes the methods. And we have 2 papers coming out next year. It's a process. Those of you who've been with us for 10 years know that, there are always questions about how long it takes, but we're getting there, folks, right? So it will be the same thing with our research effort. It's going to be slow initially, but once we get going, we're going to turn out some papers, and we're going to tell you, to the best of our ability, what some of the risk factors are. Yes, I don't know. Are you next? You?
Given the fact that so many parents believe vaccines cause